You know, it showed me a world that I hadn't seen before, of madness, of insanity, of the failure of humanity.
It's kind of like this strange, tense energy that comes over you, and somewhat of a sadness because you know what went on there.
Did Mark Chapman change the world on December 8th, 1980? Yes.
It's a tragic act of incredible violence, and we were very aware that by making this film it would upset some people, and we talked about it a lot, we debated it a lot, and it wasn't something that we all casually dove into thinking, hey, wouldn't this be cool to explore this strange guy? It wasn't about that at all for us ever. You know, Jarrett, from the very beginning, the first meeting, you know, he sat and told me how much the Beatles meant to him, how much John Lennon meant to him, and how important he thought it was to tell a story like this.
I was a big fan of the character, and I loved, you know, that how she appreciated music and what it was. Because I think without music in the world, I don't know how I'd get through filming or anything, or just get through the day. I played it every second in my car, and you know, it changes the way that you feel and your emotions. I love John Lennon, so I've always been a huge Lennon fan. Sean Lennon, Yoko, I look up to them so much.
I knew as soon as I read the script that there was going to be a tremendous physical commitment that was required, that this was an opportunity for a transformative experience.
This is a guy who has this experience with a prostitute, and then 5 minutes later calls his wife and tells her that he will always love her.
When we talked about it, Jarrett and I, there was a lot of work that we did that I won't talk about here, that should be left behind closed doors. I made different graphs and different subsections for different parts of the script, depending on who Mark was at different times, and Jarrett and I talked about who Mark was at different times, the ability to become different people, and it was a quality that Mark possessed.
Specifically, like, the voice was really important to me. You know, and there are lots of mannerisms and things, and of course he had to gain the weight.
Gaining the weight. Gaining the weight changed everything about who I was. It changed how I walked. It changed how I talked. It changed how I felt about myself. It changed how people treated me.
I didn't really speak to Jared much on the film because he was kind of in his own world. He really, really got into Mark Chapman. So it kind of freaked me out a little bit, but...
And everything from the way that Mark spoke to the way that he moved tended to stay with me throughout the day and the night. It wasn't something that just came off at the end of the day. It stayed with me. I mean, it made me sleep differently. I started taking a wheelchair to set back and forth because it was really painful to walk the distance from the dressing room to set. My feet were getting really, really painful.
Kept on using the phrase 40 pounds of pain and disgust, and to just be embedded in self-loathing and you know, projecting that as hatred to the world.
And I stretched out this valve that you have right here that's supposed to keep your food in, your bile in. I'd stretched it out so if I bent over to tie my shoes, my bile would just come up. And there was a wash that was coming in and out, and it was getting down into my bronchial tubes, and It gave me a cough that lasted the entire time of filming. I kept thinking I was sick, but they figured out I wasn't sick. I had gotten an infection. It was that sort of thing. It kicked my ass. It was a physical role, and